How wonderful that you're all here. And I am so pleased to be with you, and it promises so well tonight. I think you're in for a glorious time. So welcome to the Jerome L. Green Space Performance Space. And I'm Nimet Habachy from Classical New York, 105.9 FM. How many of you are here for the very first time? Oh, wow. Welcome. That's very good news. This program is being video webcast live on WQXR.org and on Facebook. And as we are recording audio and video, we don't want any electronics while we're on. So no interruptions. Please turn off anything that makes noise, okay? That's just as a safety thing. But you do have a very important role. These are very special people that you're about to hear, so any and all reactions, we want your applause, we want your laughter, we want your tears. If you feel so inclined, you are very much a part of the excitement of the program, okay? Tonight we have three extraordinary singers. I've been listening to them for the last while. We will introduce them to you, and they include the 2017 Richard Tucker Award winner, Nadine Sierra. So we're going to get a little preview of their performance at the 2017 annual Richard Tucker Gala, which is coming up on Sunday, December the 10th at Carnegie Hall, and it's going to be broadcast live on WQXR FM. So that's our very exciting news, and we'll also get to catch up with celebrated orchestral and opera conductor Alan Gilbert. Maestro is here with us tonight. So it's going to be a night of wonderful singing, and before we start the show, I'd like to recognize an important part of our New York radio family. Vice Chair of our Board of Trustees, Judy Carson, and Mary Susan Wilberding, also members of our QXR advisory group. Thank you both immensely for being here. So, and thanks, as always, to the Jerome L. Green Foundation for their support of WQXR and live performances here in the Green Space. If you'd like to hear some holiday singing next Thursday, the men's vocal ensemble Cantus will be here in the Green Space, telling 3 tales of Christmas in song. The Christmas Carol, Charles Dickens, The Gift of the Magi, and 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. Cantus with WQXR's Jeff Spurgeon next Tuesday, December the 5th, here in the Green Space. We're going to get started in just a moment, and again, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Esercito di prodi da me guidato e la vittoria e il plauso di men fi tutta e a te mia dolce ira tornar di Lauricinto dirti per te ho pugnato, per te ho vinto.
The American tenor Richard Tucker was born right here in New York City. He trained as a cantor, and before the age of 30, he'd already auditioned at the Metropolitan Opera and been turned down. It's an extraordinary tale, but then he was heard again singing in a Brooklyn Jewish center, and within a few years he was singing at the Met. Over 700 performances in the course of 30 years. It's got to be a record. And then, of course, opera houses all over the world. Today and for the past 40 years, Richard Tucker's children honor this legacy through the Richard Tucker Music Foundation. They've given awards to promising young American singers poised on the edge of major careers. They've given away over 250 grants in various career situations, and it is an amazing legacy that they have managed to perpetrate. The list of winners includes opera stars like Renee Fleming, Stephanie Blythe, Lawrence Brownlee, Joyce DiDonato, and Christine Goerke. Tonight, we're going to hear 2 of the Tucker Career Grant recipients and hear from the 2017 Tucker Award winner, Nadine Sierra. So welcome to the Green Space. I'm your host, Nimet, and before I tell you more about Richard Tucker and his legacy, let's have some singing, shall we? Now, like Richard Tucker, soprano Rachel Willis-Sørensen began her career singing in houses of worship. In 2010, she received a Sarah Tucker grant, and in 2014, she made her debut at the Metropolitan Opera. She's returning this season to sing the Countess in Les Nozze di Figaro next month, and right now she brings us Antonin de Dvořák's Song to the Moon. It's a moonlit night, so it's rather appropriate. It's, of course, from Rusalka. Please welcome to the Green Space at WQXR, Rachel Willis-Sørensen. That was lovely. If I can say it for everybody, that was exquisite. And that's just the beginning. The Song to the Moon of Antonin Dvorak, performed by soprano Rachel Willis-Sørensen, whom we'll be hearing from in a little bit. Now, at the piano, for Rachel and for all our singers tonight, the inimitable, the excellent Brian Zeger. Lovely to have you, Brian. Brian, as I'm sure you all know, is also the artistic director of the Vocal Arts Department at the Juilliard. We are so grateful for your being here at the Green Space. Tonight we also have with us Richard Tucker's eldest son, Barry. Barry, you're the eldest son, huh? Barry Tucker, would you stand up? We are so grateful and delighted to have you here with us today. Thank you on behalf of everybody for your continuing support of young singers. Now, the 2017 Richard Tucker Sarah Tucker Career Grant recipient, who sang in barbershop quartets before receiving a student grant from the Tucker Foundation. He made his debut at the Met Opera earlier this year in Rusalka, and here to sing A per sempre from I Puritani, please welcome the baritone Anthony Clark Evans, who goes by the name, by the way, of Clark, from I Puritani, A Lover's Lament.
Cielo, gli orrendi affanni miei. Come quei canti mi risuonano all'alma, amari pianti, quel sospiro soave, per sempre io ti perdei, senza speme d'amor, senza speme d'amor, in questa vita, orché
Thank you, Clark. Absolutely extraordinary. There's still more to come. And just think of it. On Facebook, this was being heard in Mexico and New Delhi. Isn't that a miracle? They all heard A per sempre from I Puritani of Bellini. Baritone Anthony Clark Evans, pianist Brian Zeger, live in the green space in Soho in Manhattan. We're going to hear more from Anthony later on, but first I want to bring up a very, very special guest. Conductor Alan Gilbert was the first and only native New Yorker to hold the post of music director at the New York Philharmonic. After 8 years, he stepped down this year to take the reins at the Elbe Philharmonie in Hamburg. But he's back in town, and he's conducting the Philharmonic's 175th birthday celebration next week at Lincoln Center. What a wonderful thing to come home for. Please welcome Maestro Alan Gilbert to the green space. Welcome, Maestro. How lovely that you're here with us tonight. I hope you're happy to be here as much as we're happy to be with you.
I'm thrilled to be back in New York, and can I just jump in?
Go for it.
This is more than a thrill for me to be sitting next to you, Nimet, because when I was in high school, I used to...
Would you mind not rubbing that into it?
Well, it was just a few years ago. I used to go to bed, and my parents, I'm pretty sure, maybe they knew, but I'm pretty sure they thought I was asleep. But what I was really doing was listening on my Walkman to New York at Night. And, well, I had a huge crush on you. And frankly, I learned so much from listening to your program, and there were so many pieces that I heard for the first time, and when the Debussy Petite Suite came on, I slept far less than my parents realized. And anyway, so nice to be here for so many reasons.
I am so very touched and humbled to hear it, and very grateful you didn't make any references to going to bed with me. I think you'd better leave that one alone.
Not in reality, but you know, but where the mind goes.
Well, it is absolutely extraordinary to be having this discussion. I have been completely in awe of what you've been able to do, and the fact that you came by it in such an utterly original way. Can we refer to the extraordinary fact of both your parents being with the Philharmonic and your having conducted them? And what in heaven's name is that like?
Well, it's not as bad as it sounds, because actually my father retired just before I first conducted the orchestra, the first time I guess conducted the orchestra, and he swears that these events, his leaving and my conducting, were not connected, but coincidence, I don't know. It was anyway. He knew that I was about to conduct the orchestra, and abruptly in the middle of the season, he decided that was it. But he's been a huge factor in my musical life. So even though he wasn't playing in the orchestra as my mother was for the first few years that I was conducting, it was obviously something that was in my mind. People have asked me this before. It's, I guess, an obvious kind of fascinating question, because it's, you know, you can't really make it up. But honestly, there's so many things to think about when you're conducting any orchestra, let alone the New York Philharmonic, that it didn't take long before the fact that she was there really was able to recede to its sort of, I think, appropriate and natural place. And after the rehearsals, after the concerts, you know, she would make comments, and I'm sure comments that nobody else would make, like your button was undone, or you know, your tie wasn't clean, or things like that. No, I was very lucky because she was a wonderful player until she stopped, and so there were never any issues, if you see what I mean. And so that could have been awkward, but it was the farthest from the case, and I was always.
So you were hanging around at rehearsals from the get-go, from a long time before.
Well, I literally grew up with the orchestra, and it's not an exaggeration to say that the New York Philharmonic was the orchestra that taught me what orchestras can be and what an orchestra really is. It was something that I never dared to hope for, to even conduct the orchestra at all, let alone become its music director. And it was a huge privilege to be able to work with the orchestra for 8 years and to make decisions that in a very real and palpable way affected the cultural landscape in, you know, this most rich cultural landscape in New York City.
Now, were you exposed to both opera and orchestral music from the very beginning? Or did one, frankly, I mean, hanging out at the Philharmonic, I suppose, instrumental music, you were more exposed to that than to opera, but you had a grounding in both.
Certainly, the music that I first listened to before New York at Night was at the New York Philharmonic, and I was a regular. I used to love to go to concerts. And one of the things that my parents did was they tried to expose us to a lot of different things. We would, when there was Shakespeare on PBS, we would watch the plays. And at one point, I think my father decided that we should get more familiar with opera. And so he did one of his famous lists. We used to have lists of books we read, lists of plays that we had seen, and we made a list of operas that we saw. And I was a very competitive kid, and I wanted to get to 100 first. That was the challenge. Who would get to 100 operas first? So I started to go stand at the Met, and I would do my homework as quickly as possible, or not do my homework as quickly as possible. And I was a regular. I would go sometimes 5-6 times a week, and I knew all the ushers, and it was a very rare performance that I wouldn't end up in one of the front rows down there, because people would leave and they would offer their tickets to the people standing at the back of the parterre level. And that's when I started to really become a nut for opera.
How early did you begin to work with opera singers in your career?
I think I did a student production of Nicolai's The Merry Wives of Windsor when I was at Harvard. So that was really the first time. And after that, when I was at Curtis, I started to do opera scenes, and it was something that always appealed to me. I loved the repertoire, and I loved actually telling a story and the kind of world of theater and the richness of what goes on behind the scenes in opera. It's in a way, I would say it's my favorite thing to do, is to work in opera.
I think you've pointed out that instrumentalists perhaps start out earlier in a career. Singing seems to come later. So what role does something as marvelous as the Tucker Foundation play in the life of a singer? I mean, how important does it become, since a singer starts out later? It's
I mean, it's an interesting question, and I think very hard to answer precisely. Anytime, and this is about the Tucker Foundation, the awards that this incredible organization offers, but it's about any time support and belief is shown to a growing artist. It's probably too much to say that it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you give someone the chance because you think they're going to have the possibility to become great, but it doesn't hurt. And it's sometimes that key ingredient or the catalyst that makes it possible to go someplace. And it's definitely true that success breeds success. And the trick is really choosing the right recipients, choosing the right objects of support. And I think for a singer, I think the fact that it takes a long time actually should be embraced. If anything, you see people going maybe quicker than they need to, and having the patience to let the voice develop and let the body grow up and take the time that it needs to take is really important. But obviously having the kind of opportunities that come from this it's a wonderful opportunity. It's a wonderful.
I can't help but note that you're in the very lucky position of never having had to choose. You have both the orchestra at your command and also you have opera at your command, so you get to play in both fields.
It's something that I feel very lucky about all the time, and it's I think an artificial division when people say, "Oh, do you do opera? Do you do symphonic?" There's no reason why it shouldn't be possible to do both, although it can be a very different discipline.
I was just going to ask, what is the mindset? Do you go in with two mindsets, or in the end,
I had a feeling you were going to go there. No, I mean, do you want the short answer or the long answer?
Why don't you pick something in between?
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll give you the short answer because it's short. The short answer is that there's no difference because it's all music, and even instrumental music, I feel, in some sense, should tell a story. But of course, the full answer is more complicated than that. I think that it would be great if more people would approach instrumental music vocally, as vocally as possible, because the way the voice operates, the way the breath is inherently part of singing, really should be part of how we approach instrumental music. I love the voice. Just the thrill of the sound of one note can be all you need to just send you into a very, very special place. And it's really only with a voice, I think, that it can happen in that magical way, that specifically magical way. And reacting to the voice and helping the flow of the accompanying instruments based on what is being offered by the singer is such a pleasure. It's a kind of physical pleasure dealing with the voice, especially if you can hear great voices like Rachel's and Clark's. There's nothing really better than that.
It's a wonderful analysis and a wonderful, very acute explanation, for which I, for one, am very grateful. And I watched Brian nodding his head also. So
well, Brian and I, we go way back. We're on the same page, if I may say.
I want to go on much further, but will you forgive us? We should probably move on and invite you to perhaps have a nice, comfortable seat and hear the rest of the singers and continue at a later time. But thank you so much, Alan, for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you ever so much. And now we get to bring back one of our young singers. We're going to hear Frühlingsfeier by Richard Strauss. The title, of course, translates as The Rite of Spring. So here again with pianist Brian Zeger is soprano Rachel Willis-Sørensen. Rachel, that was fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you.
2 extraordinary pieces already. Thank you so
It was
much.
such a pleasure.
How do you manage to do everything you do? Plus, you've got some rather young children. Want to tell us about that?
I do. Yes, I have a 4-year-old daughter named Lydia and twin sons that are 2. Oh, there's a picture. There we are. Thanks. Yeah.
Oh,
The
they look
sons
lovely.
are Carl and Johannes,
Oh,
named after
my.
their great-grandfathers.
And you have something in common with Maestro Alan Gilbert. You both have relationships with Scandinavia. Want to tell us about that a bit?
Yeah, my husband grew up in Denmark. We're thinking about moving there, trying to maintain a secondary living situation in Copenhagen soon. So, and also
goodness.
my heritage is Scandinavian. So this is a little funny. One time I went to Norway to sing in this concert, and I was picked up from the airport by the opera director, and he told me, "Yeah, we really are trying to support Scandinavian singers." And I thought he meant me. So I was like, "Yeah, we Vikings have to stick together." And then he looked at me like, "What?" And I realized, oh, he doesn't mean me at all. No. I thought just because I had a /o in my last name, like I belong there. Do you know what I mean? But I did take that test where you spit into a tube and they analyze your DNA.
Yes.
And I am 50% Scandinavian, which is 4% more than my Danish husband. So, just saying. I'm just saying.
That's delightful. And you've been singing professionally now for how long?
Let's see. I graduated from the Houston Grand Opera Studio in 2011. And so I've been, since then, basically fully fledged. But my first professional engagement was in the summer of 2008. I sang the High Priestess in Aida.
My goodness, already
So,
at that age.
ftah. It's
Ftah,
one
yes.
page. It's like a page. It's a great page, but it's one page.
That's delightful. What about the bucket list? What sort of things are you hoping will come your way at a
Oh,
a
what
later
a good
date? Or
question. Well, I am going to do my first Rusalka performances in a couple of seasons. I'm very excited about that.
I think you're ready.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's funny because I don't know. It would be easy to go really heavy really quickly with my repertoire. There are a lot of some of them even very interesting offers, and I've done some things that were quite daring. I sang Leonora and Fidelio
Already?
with Santa Cecilia, just concertant, just a concert version, it was semi-staged. And it taught me a lot. It was very challenging technically, but I think, I wasn't the best Leonora that's ever been, let's be honest. I'm young.
Oh, I wonder about that. But anyway.
But I'm glad to have done it, and I don't know, there's so many things. I love these powerful women heroines, so I'm looking forward to some great things in the future. But right now, I would also like to keep Mozart in my calendar as long as I absolutely possibly am allowed. So for at least the next 2 seasons, I already have some Mozart gigs booked.
Now
and
you're
that's-
heading for a Mozart gig imminently. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yes, we're just finishing rehearsals for Le Nozze di Figaro at the Met.
Yes.
And yeah, it's wonderful cast. This is my 3rd time singing it with Luca Pizzaroni as the Count. So we have like new comic bits that we've added that have developed over the last couple of years.
Terrific.
And everyone sounds just fantastic. It's a real pleasure. And I keep thinking, pinch me. I'm here with these incredible colleagues, and it's just, we're making art in this superlative way. It's a real thrill.
God bless. I hope it's a very, very major happiness for you.
Thank you.
And you're going to sing for us again, I believe, now.
Oh, right away, just like that. Okay. May I have a little schluck of water?
Please,
Thank
by
you.
all means, give you a little bit more time.
No, I'm ready.
Especially since you're not just going to get up and sing anything. You're going to get up and sing the Schardash from Die Fledermaus of Johann Strauss. With many thanks in advance.
You are most welcome. Should I just go now? Just go do it?
Why not?
All right.
Klänge der Heimat
Soprano Rachel Willis-Sørensen, with many Shardashes in her future, no doubt. Quite extraordinary. And of course, Rachel will be appearing as the Countess Almaviva at the Metropolitan Opera in the next few days. So good luck with the Mozart and with all kinds of Strausses. Now, from one Strauss to another Strauss, from Johann to Richard, please help me welcome back our dear friend Clark, not Richard, it's Clark, who is going to sing Allerseelen or All Souls Day. Richard Strauss's music sung by Anthony Clark Evans. Anthony, would you come out again and join us, please? Come join me. Wonderful. Thank you, Chuck. That was absolutely gorgeous. Rather different from your barbershop quartet.
Rather different.
Aller Seelen of Richard Strauss.
Yes.
Fantastic. How did you hear about your having won the award? What was your...
Email.
Of course. Would you tell us some of the other things that you've done in the course of your career?
Well, I just made some debuts this past year. I sang at the Met in Rusalka off stage. Thank you. And I also
Sang at the Met.
True, yes. And I also covered in the show there. And I the year before that did a lot of Madama Butterfly, some sharplesses in San Francisco, San Diego, and St. Louis. I did Marcello. So I've just been kind of getting myself out there and letting people know that I exist.
Did you ever think back home in Kentucky when you were, I think you were involved in the selling of cars at some point, no?
Yes.
Did you ever imagine this would all be happening?
Yes.
Good.
No, I really did not.
Having just heard you now, I'm hardly surprised.
No, I really did not. I was trying to appease, the I need a check every 2 weeks. I was trying to just make that happen in my life. It was when the economy was really bad and things like that, so I thought I ought to put these dreams on hold. But then I just got mad every year when the Met auditions would roll around and I wouldn't be a part of them. I just kept hating myself more and more. So I did them and I did well.
Good for you. So you're doing all of this. You're also being a daddy?
Yes.
And how many children have you got?
I have one 3-year-old girl named Bryn with 2 N's.
Okay.
She is named after him, by the way.
She is.
She's much prettier.
Sure.
Slightly prettier.
Oh, that's absolutely lovely, and we're wishing you every bit of luck in the world. Once again, to remind, I am sitting with Clark, and this is the Jerome L. Green Space. Very, very happy that you're here with us. Please stay around because we're going to go on. Don't forget that on Sunday, December the 10th at Carnegie Hall, it's the Richard Tucker Gala, which will also be broadcast on WQXR at 105.9 FM.
I'll be there too.
Now, the previous award winners have been Tamara Wilson and Eileen Perez. They're going to be there along with Bryn Terfel, 1N.
Yes.
And the 2017 Tucker Award winner, Nadine Sierra, who we're going to be meeting in just a few minutes. Now, is this going to be your Carnegie Hall debut, by the way?
In the big hall, yes.
In the big hall, yes. So, any major advice to young singers before we part?
Be conservative with yourself for a little while and make sure that you take care of your health. That's very important, especially when you're young, so you can build the muscles as a young person that you need to use as an older person.
How would you like to sing a little cabaret for us?
Sure, that'd be great.
Want to tell us a little bit about the song George by
William Bolcom. I got to meet him when the orchestra debut happened of some of his cabaret songs, and we worked on this song with himself and his wife, who was the original performer of all of those songs. So I think I have a good idea of how to do this song in the right way, I think. But no, it was a really eye-opening experience to kind of, as you like to say, urtext with the man himself. I love this piece because it kind of it's a tragic circumstance, that ends up happening, and I live in the South, and I encounter a lot of these kind of prejudices on a regular basis when it comes to the LGBT community, and I have a soft spot for it, and it very much is near and dear to my heart, and I like that I'm able to perform this the way I do, because I think that it makes me a little bit emotional to talk about it, because I'm very cognizant of what these people go through on a daily basis, and I hope that us as a society, we're getting really deep here, but I hope that we as a society, as a country, can kind of move past these things and get on with our own lives and not worry about everybody else's life. So that's something that I like to talk about every now and then.
Thank you. This is... Clark is going to sing George by William Bolcom. Look out for a hint of Puccini. It is quite a song. Brian at the piano.
My friend George used to say, "Oh, call me Georgia. Get yourself a drink." And sang the best soprano in our part of town. In beads, brocade, and pins, he sang if you happened in. Through the door he never locked, and said, "Get yourself a drink," and sang out loud till tears fell in the cognac and the chocolate milk and gin, and on the beads, brocade, and pins. When strangers happened through his open door, George said, "Stay, but you gotta keep quiet while I sing, and then a minute after, and call me Georgia." One fine day, a stranger in a suit of navy blue took George's life with a knife George had placed beside an apple pie he'd baked, and stabbed him in the middle of bel di vedremo, as he sang for this particular stranger who was in the United States Navy. The funeral was at the cocktail hour. We knew George would like it like that. Tears fell on the beads, brocade, and pins in the coffin, which was white, because George was a virgin. Oh, call him Georgia. Get yourself a drink. You can call me Georgia hon. Get yourself a drink.
Bravo. George by William Bolcom. Baritone Anthony Clark Evans with pianist Brian Zeger. Thank you all. Now, Clark was a 2017 Richard Tucker Career Grant recipient, and you can hear him later this season at the Met on Sunday, December the 10th at the Met, and on Sunday, December the 10th at Carnegie Hall as part of the annual Richard Tucker Gala, along with Stephanie Blythe, Vittorio Grigolo, Sir Bryn Terfel. The 2017 Richard Tucker Award winner is Nadine Sierra. I'm Nimet, and you are in the green space at WQXR. Nadine Sierra is becoming a regular at many of the world's greatest opera houses. In the last 2 years, she's performed in 3 operas at the Met, and next month she takes over the role of Susanna at the Met in Le Nozze di Figaro. Nadine has been described as nothing less than awesome and a delight, and if you haven't heard her sing, I'm sure you'll be delighted. She'll start with an aria from Louise of Gustave Charpentier, Depuis le jour, since the day I gave myself to you. One of the loveliest of pieces, and it's my pleasure to welcome to the green space, in her first appearance as the 2017 Richard Tucker Award winner, soprano Nadine Sierra. Brava diva.
Thank you.
That was absolutely wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
That is one of the most beautiful of pieces, and I can't help but wonder. You grew up in Fort Lauderdale. When were you exposed to opera? When did you hear it? When did you see it? And you're not yet 30, and you can do all this. This is incredible.
I was a very weird kid. I started singing, let's say, taking voice lessons when I was 6.
Wow.
And that's because I was driving my parents crazy, and they wanted to put me somewhere where I wouldn't drive them crazy. So it was an hour every week in voice lessons, and I practiced every day for an hour. I was very, very committed. And my grandmother on my mother's side had wanted to be an opera singer but could never pursue it. So my mother, for some reason, could sort of hear this, let's say, operatic quality even in my little, let's say, 10-year-old voice. And she introduced me to opera. And let's say my second opera that I saw was the Zeffirelli Bohème that was at the Met with Teresa Stratas and Jose Carreras. It was a VHS tape. And after I watched it, I just knew. I don't know. I just knew immediately I have to do this. Not that I want to, but that I have to commit myself to something this incredible. Because I never really fit into anything else. I didn't fit into the musical theater mold or the pop mold. I wanted something more, and opera was just it.
What is your immediate bucket list? What roles do you aspire to? I think the world is yours on the opera level.
Well, I definitely would love to sing Mimi someday. That is a big one. Just because of how this character and, of course, how this opera affected me when I was a young girl. I would like to somehow affect another young girl watching the same way, let's say, Teresa Stratas affected me. And maybe even pull this young girl into opera the way I was pulled into it. For me, roles are never because of, I just want to sing that role, because there's always a meaning behind it and always a reason. It's to impact people. It's to make an impression, to bring others in. So that would be the biggest one, I have to say.
It's a very generous attitude, if I may say so.
Well,
it's lovely.
Art it should be a generous thing, you know. That is what giving art is about. It's about sharing. It's about expressing to someone who maybe doesn't know about it. I know even a lot of my friends don't know that much about opera, but because I've given them, let's say, the opportunity to listen to it, now their ears have perked up, and it's like, that's the point, I think.
So you don't have any sense of opera not having a place in the future?
Yeah, exactly.
It has very much of a place.
Very much, very much.
That's wonderful. I'm so glad. And you're heading for the Met and Mozart's Nozze di Figaro.
Yes, I'm very excited about that. Susanna has sort of been a person who's been with me for a very long time, because when I was studying opera, I was studying all of the Mozart heroines, let's say. So Susanna, God, I think I started learning De Vieni when I was 11, 12. So
that is early.
Yeah, so she's been with me for quite a long time. I'd say Mozart has been with me for a long time.
That's quite a statement.
Yeah.
And you particularly like singing Mozart?
I do. I find Mozart to be very healthy for singers. It's what gave me, let's say, the foundation in vocal technique that I feel I have today. So I still love it. I still cherish it. I think it's very important.
Well, I think the music suits you also.
Oh, thank you.
Now, I think perhaps it's time for a duet.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us about the duet?
Absolutely. This is Sullaria, which I'm very happy I get to sing with Rachel. I've never sung with her before.
Oh, good. That's
so this is the
exciting.
first time. And the Countess has asked Susanna to write up a letter. They're making a plan to catch the count in his ways. We've been hearing about that a lot lately on the news. So maybe this is an appropriate duet for this evening. And they're just two really wonderful ladies, very smart ladies conspiring. I think they're quite similar in a way. So this is Sularia.
That's lovely. Perhaps we can invite once again
Yes.
Rachel to come to the stage, and we'll have this duet. Sularia from Le Nozze di Figaro of Mozart with pianist Brian Zeger. Sopranos Nadine Sierra and Rachel Willis-Sørensen live in the green space.
Scredico e tutto io prendo su me stessa. Canzonetta sull'aria. Sull'aria che sovete firetto. Stasera spererà. Stasera spirerà sotto il venere baschetto. Sotto il venere baschetto. Sotto il venere tra il boschetto e già il resto caperà. Certo, certo il caperà. Già il resto caperà. Canzonetta sull'aria sovete fine. Stasera spirerà del boschetto e già il resto caperà.
You looked like you were having such fun.
Yes, of course.
It was absolutely grand. And
Thank you.
I wonder if you could tell us how effective or what kind of an effect it had on you to win the Richard Tucker Foundation Award and to say nothing of the awards that came before that.
Okay, I was very honored. I was very surprised, very delightful surprise. But you know, I have to be honest. I feel like I've known the Tuckers for a long time. Because I met, especially Barry, I met him like 10 years ago. And Barry has always been that person, he will always tell you the truth, you know? And if I ever asked him a question or asked him for advice or whatever, he always gave me his honest opinion, and I always appreciated that. So I felt I never felt uncomfortable around Barry. I always felt like he was part of my family in a way, I think. So when I won the Tucker Award, it felt like someone was just giving me a gold sticker. You know what I mean? I really didn't feel like it was this grandiose. Of course, I feel very honored, and I especially feel honored because being part of that list of singers before me who have won, it's a big deal. And it's something I've worked so hard for. Would I say I deserve it? I don't know.
I think so.
I don't think. Well, no, but I don't think I have that kind of boldness to say that. But I'm very appreciative, and it does feel like I'm getting an award from a family member. So that's what I really, really love. Yeah.
Now, after the Richard Tucker Gala, you are off to Berlin. Is that a first too?
I've been to Berlin, but I sang Orfeo there, thankfully with Barenboim, who is conducting this Requiem, the Brahms Requiem.
It's the Brahms Requiem, right.
And so that will be very nice to meet with him again. And also what's great is Tom Hampson is going to be singing as well. And he's another one that I met, 11 years ago when I was really young. And he gave me one piece of advice. If you guys know Thomas Hampson, he's very tall. And he stood over me and looked down at me and he said, "Hide." Hide from what? He said, well, this industry has people who will try to exploit you, and just take your time. You're young, And I listened to that. Very wise word. Hide. Yeah.
My goodness, that's quite a word to go about one's life with. But frankly, with so much talent and so much going, it'd be hard to hide.
Oh, thank you.
But just wishing you all the very, very best, and looking forward to your Figaros also.
Thank you.
Now, it's a familiar role, but is it very different the way they're planning it at the Met? I mean, do you find many variations there?
Well, I actually haven't started the rehearsals yet, so I'm not quite sure how this production is run. I do think it is slightly different as far as the time era it's taken place, but I'm excited to find out in just a few weeks.
Oh, I'm sure it's going to be absolutely wonderful. Should we have another sampling, please, from Le Nozze di Figaro? This is
Sure.
Devien non tardar. Please hurry up and get here. From a very loving woman.
That is so sweet.
That was absolutely lovely,
Oh,
and I can
thank
understand being given the flowers. Nadine, again, is the 2017 Richard Tucker Award winner. She's going to be singing Susanna at the Metropolitan Opera next month. And again on Sunday, December the 10th, she'll join the star-studded cast for the Richard Tucker Gala concert at Carnegie Hall, being broadcast on WQXR 105.9. So, thanks to Barry Tucker and to Peter Carwell of the Richard Tucker Music Foundation, and to the production staff here at WQXR and the Green Space. Nadine, you have a recording that's about to come out, I believe, of Rigoletto. Want to tell us
Yes.
about that a little bit?
Yes.
Good.
Oh. So this Rigoletto is very special because Dimitri recorded this. You know, I met Dimitri in 2013 with his beautiful wife, Florence. And I was really astounded by him, not because of, you know, him being a star and the way he looks and his beautiful voice, but really because of how nice he was, you know, very down to earth, down to the ground. I feel like that's what really makes people, let's say, a star, when they're not afraid to shine their light on people in a much bigger way than just their talent. It's more of sharing themselves and doing good by others because of what they do. And he was definitely somebody who I think did that, which is why his passing is very sad. And doing Rigoletto with him was like the easiest thing in the world. It was so natural because I wouldn't say he, for me, was like a father figure, but definitely there was a sense of that caring and nurturing quality that he gave me, and even support. I mean, the amount of times he supported me and the things he said. So this is such a special recording because of the legacy he's leaving behind, not just vocally, but I think for the people who knew him, it's more of the person himself that will, I mean, that just can't be forgotten.
Yes.
Yeah.
An artist we all loved
Oh, for sure.
and will miss very greatly. One
Yeah.
of the greatest baritones probably of the 20th century.
I think so too.
Now you are recording again, I think, quite soon because you've got a
Yes.
contract.
Yeah, I do. I have a contract. I never believe it until I guess I can say it myself. But I have a solo album that I've recorded, and I don't want to give out the details just yet. It's sort of a surprise because it's not really going to be a typical debut album of a young soprano. And I wanted it to be that way because, like I said, anything I ever do or anything I ever want artistically, it's always for a reason, and there's always a message behind it. And I hope that that message will be absorbed. I think today we need a message and a powerful one. So I'm very, very anxious to have it released, and it was an incredible experience. Very easygoing and just enjoyable.
And it's with Deutsche Grammophon.
It is, yes.
We all look forward to that
Oh,
very, very much.
Thank you.
I wonder if we can ask for one more song from you.
Sure.
Once again, it's Richard Strauss, Cecily. And
My favorite too.
Nadine Sierra live at WQXR's Green Space, Cecily of Richard Strauss, a song that was a wedding present. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Nadine. Thank you ever so much, Brian Zeger, our pianist. Thanks also to soprano Rachel Willis-Sørensen. Would you come on out and take another bow? And baritone Anthony Clark Evans. And Maestro, would you join us on stage, please? Maestro Alan Gilbert. And may I extend great congratulations to the 2017 Richard Tucker Award winner, Nadine Sierra, and to everybody. What? Nadine? You're there, right? I'm Nimet, and I thank you so much for coming and for watching on Facebook. Good night, everybody. Thank you very much for being with us, and heartiest congratulations to you all. You're wonderful. Thank you, Brian.